So everybody, I thought I might share this today with my Facebook friends because when I'm going through your comments, I read your posts and you post stuff like you post stuff um, the the migrant people who are being separated from their kids, whether it be about Donald Trump or whether it be about LGBT rights. Literally, I wanted to share something with you. It's about social hierarchies. And, you know, many of you will wake up. I remember one of my Facebook friends, she literally spent at least a good hour walking through somewhere out in my city. And she said she was wondering about she's Hispanic, but she was literally wondering about like why are her people being treated the way they do? Why like she's like why do they hate us? And it's what literally many of you, whether you white, black, whatever, have to understand is that I always get and talk about race a lot. I talk about the historical significance of it and how it's and how really racism is a system. It's not, and I have to say this a lot so you don't confuse prejudice with racism. Prejudice is thoughts. It takes action and motivation to be considered racist. Otherwise, it's just prejudice and bigotry. You have to, in order to be racist, you can't just throw slur words. You have to literally do something to someone. You have to beat them up. You have to deny them something. You have to discriminate. And when when anyone says this system's fucked up, this broken system's fucked up, they're literally telling you because it is a system. I literally wrote this shit down. I'm not playing. Like I know one of my friends, he literally he talks about politics a lot. And under that, no, we race. But I literally analyze and kind of study and get my thoughts about how did this go down? Like, why does this happen? It's because literally it's a system. I'm not playing with you. See, yes, I wrote this down, but here's why it is. Look, a long time ago, thousands in all of human history, there is always a system in place to divide people, tell them where they can't go, who they can't marry, who they can't have sex with, and what type of rights and privileges they have based on color, race, or nationality or bloodline or something like that. It doesn't have to be about color or race. It could be about the fact where the hell you're from. Literally. See, the oldest social hierarchy in the world, and I've said this before, is the Hindu caste system. There is more to it than what people think. Because when I had this book on my phone that I read. I still had it sit there for months, but I finally started reading it, and I got 35 pages in. It's not that long. It's like 182 PDF format, and it literally gets into how ancient India became this this social hierarchy that oppressed these people, these dark ass people called today called the untouchables, or what the Brahmins, the Aryans called the dasis, the black skin. See, long time ago, before, and I'm explaining it from a point of social hierarchies. Long before the Indo-Aryans came in, they were cousins to Persians. They were Persians basically, and the reason what made oppressed and it suffered atrocities under a king, an Assyrian king called King Asser, way millennia ago. And once they left their part of the world, Persia, which is your modern day Iraq, they wandered around the Eurasian steppe. Now, the Eurasian steppe is a place where I've said it stretches from Russia to northern China. Now, where division and conquering of another people come in is where it goes down to expansion and resources. And how you regulate that system depends on your ability to divide and keep people in check. This is how it's done. It's the way it's always been. Racism is a system, just like sexism or patriarchy is a system, just like capitalism is a system, just like religion is a system to tell people what to do. The only difference with this type of system is that you're not the one making the decisions. It's the people on top making the decisions. Because since India is the oldest social hierarchy, there actually is a caste system that precedes that one. See, when these nomadic pastoral people who lived off the land, they had clans, and there was a social hierarchy in that. You had your shepherd, your adventurer, your builders. You know, you had the women on the bottom. You know, and that was not about race. It was just a clan. Everyone had their roles in their tribe, in these Indo-Aryan tribes. Now, where that changed was when they left their Persian, but they broke off and basically forgot the Persian cousins. Then they're in the Hindu Kush Valley. And when it literally came out the book that I read, what they were saying was that when these Persians ran into these much darker people they called the Dasis, or they're known as, they were called Dravidians or Tamils, they literally had a problem. See, the people who stayed in the Hindu Kush Valley, the Tamils or the Untouchables, actually were good with agriculture, farming. And since these pastoral people, those nomadic Indo-Aryan people wanted their resources, now the population got so big that they had to create a military class. And this is where they introduced this caste system. See, at the top, you had the priests or the academics, the Brahmins. Underneath them, you had the warrior class. You had the kings and the warriors. That'd be your military. And after that, you need people to regulate land and the resources. So you had your merchants and landowner class. And on the bottom, you have the commoners and the peasants. And then under the bottom, you have the outcasts, the street sweepers. It goes from Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and the Dalits. But it gets even worse. See, this model of a social hierarchy followed other. The steppe people, the people come from the Eurasian steppe or the Caspian steppe, there were other tribes. They seeped into China. They created a different system called the Haku system, or the House Registration Document System. Now, if you know anything about China, you know they have like they keep control of the population by deciding how the birth rates happen. One child per household. There's more to it than that. See, China in ancient times, they're also agricultural people. See, the East Asians who stayed in the northern part of Asia, the North Asian tip where it was colder, they came down. People like Genghis Khan, people like the Mongols, they came down and took over the mainland of China. The household registration system, and basically it regulates you to a certain part of the country, literally having your own passport. It's like being able to live in California, but you can't freely go to Idaho, which is in your same country. So literally people are divided amongst where they live, not so much race. You have people in the countryside and you have people in the city or the rural side. And how they divide people is, for the rural side, they actually overtax the agricultural products. The people who work there, but they underpay them, making them poor. So literally, these poor people have to go to the city in order to get good paying jobs. Now, how is this discriminatory? Well, if you physically look at some of the ethnic groups in China, some people are much lighter than others. See, if you stay in the countryside, work in the hot sun, you become tan. But if you stay indoors and you're around this nice scenery, right? You're in the shade, you're lighter. Indicates you have shelter. And that's where that whole light and dark thing manifested. Because when you look all over the planet, it's the same story. The same story of light people and dark people, white or black, or white and tan, or brown and black. And it's literally people looking at you and discriminating based on because you look different than them. Well, it gets a little bit more insidious than that, because this is the root of it is really xenophobia. See, if you have dominant and recessive genes, you mix them together, you make up a whole new race of people. And for you to preserve your bloodline, you have to actually not mate with certain people. Basically, if I want to have kids that are black, I have to be with another black person or someone dark. Else, well, they're not going to be entirely black. So it's kind of based on social hierarchies and reserving of a bloodline too. But I'm not going to delve into the whole genetics part. That's kind of in the mental psychology. But social hierarchies, even in Europe, there was serfdom or feudalism. See, the kings, and the difference between the Hindu caste system and the feudalistic caste system of Europe, it was not so much based on it was just maybe the way people got divided. See, serfdom was basic. People hold land in exchange for military service or labor. See, you get the kings in Europe, you get the kings and queens on top. The church or the nobles, the dukes under them, and then you get the serfs and peasants. Peasants or serfs. Same thing. Even in ancient Egypt, king on top, priest on the bottom, military, slave. This is how people are divided. This is how people are told what to do, where they can go. And what's very similar with all these three systems is that there's always an oppressed class and there's always a ruling class, but also they're very different in their own way. Just like patriarchy. In a heterosexual patriarch, that all the men hold political power, social and political power. They decide who gets what. And that's in a patriarch. Now what's different about the Hindu caste system is the fact that you're not necessarily being discriminated on race, because that did not exist 5,000 years ago. You're being discriminated on what you did in your past life, karma, and how this physically manifests is quite possibly due with the color of your skin. Because this guy who explained what the Hindu caste system was to a bunch of black folks, he said, literally, he's a Dalit. He's on the bottom, and he didn't really flat out and say it, but he said it's like saying his skin is polluted to the upper caste people. But I've been told by an Indian person online a couple years ago that there are people my color in the higher tiers of the caste system. But strangely enough, you look throughout Indian society and you look at Southern Indians are darker than the Northern Indians. They put light skin esteem. They put light skin. They put light skin as a beauty status, a social status. But you also find this dynamic in China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Philippines, parts of Africa, even in Africa, when the Arabs ruled over the Africans, which they still are doing now. You have these dark-skinned Africans and these light-skinned Arabs or brown skin. They divide the jet black African from the brown skin one. It's just a way to divide people, keep them in check, and to hoard the resources for yourself. It's really ultimately about resources. It's just that using color of skin or your race or your gender as a way to, that's what racism is. It's about resources, but it's about maintaining a culture or a people and allocating those resources to them and not giving it to you. That's what that is. Because you literally look, I literally did. I might have to show people. Okay. So if you gosh, if you kind of look at this, let me turn this around a little bit. Crap. Now, literally, you can see I wrote this shit down. See, it's kind of like people on top, people under them, and then on the bottom. But with every system that has existed throughout the entire human history, there's always an oppressed people, whether it be of your gender, whether it be of just maybe because of money, whether it be of a discriminatory practice of color of skin, but they take a spiritual, because this is really based on religion, spirituality. This one is based on a document system. It has nothing to do with what you did in your past life or your race or anything. It's just regulating where you are, because this is more government, this is more class, and this is more gender. This is basically how to discriminate against someone. You have to say who they are, give them a name, and treat them as such. I don't know what else to tell people. And this is how I began to understand. This is why the world is the way it is, because we divide and we conquer and know. And you look at anyone's history, no matter all four corners of the planet, we're all, but I mean, let me take that back. When you look at any other country in any society throughout human history, even if those empires are not there, there is a dark past to every single nationality, creed, race, country on the planet. Every island has a story. Every city and empire has a history. Every culture, every race has a dark past. And in order to understand the dark past, you have to look into it and sometimes stare it in the face. But that's all I got. Hopefully people took something from this. Might share it. Actually, I am, but later on. Bye, guys.